starting.
I'm already laughing. Hi, everyone. We are live from the edge. As always, this is our 13th episode covering Star Trek Discovery, episode 14, The War Without, The War Within. I'm Bruce Gibson, just one of your hosts. And with me, as she is always, Brandi, Brandi Jacola.
That's
Whatever
okay. It's all good. Brandon Shea Matella called me Amy once in a podcast, so it's all good.
I almost said your last name first. That's what I was going to say, Jacola Brandi.
People call me Jackie all the time.
Really?
Yes. Anyway, yeah, hi. Happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here, as always. Like
Thank
I
you.
said earlier, you're always here. Hey, who else is with us? Do you notice somebody else is lurking around?
There's somebody lurking in the other window. Will the mystery guest please sign in?
Justin
Hey guys.
Oser.
Yeah, great to be here again on Live from the Edge. Apparently my face didn't get the message that we're out of the mirror universe now, but oh well.
We brought you into the Prime universe.
Right. So I can wreak some havoc. I mean, maybe I can make it to the captain's chair by the end of this episode.
Yeah, just like Kirk made it to captain in one movie, 2009. Anyway, sorry. I will never let that go. Never. Anyway, that's not what
But it was temporary. He was kicked out and then put back in.
I don't care. You don't go from cadet to captain in one mission. I'm sorry. Unless you're pretending to be a captain named Captain Killy and the promotion doesn't actually take place. Yeah, that's okay then.
Kirk is just amazing. That's why. I guess that's how he did it. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Star Trek 09. We're here to talk about Star Trek Discovery, episode 14, The War Without, The War Within. And again, we are live and we're on YouTube and we have a chat room going right now. But if you're not in the chat, you can also tweet to us. You can tweet at Trek FM and use the hashtag Live the Edge. That's Live the Edge. Like all pushed together as one word. Live the Edge. So let's get right into it. I wonder if is the chat room even, what are they talking about right now? Oh, we have a mere guest. I see that.
Well, at least we've got somebody here representing. That's good.
That's true. So, you know what? I just want to start off by saying how this episode starts from the very beginning. Did you notice they're painting the U back into USS Discovery on the hull?
I did notice that, yeah.
I did as well.
I thought that was cool.
Yes.
And just so you know, I struggled through this episode. I'm just saying right now.
Well, it's a struggle in the episode. I mean, it's not called The War Without, The War Within for no reason.
Well, I struggled through the episode because my internet, or I don't know, the app wasn't working. It kept like pausing. So my wife and I had to rewatch it again tonight so we could like see it actually.
I thought you meant you struggled because you didn't like it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought too.
I didn't like it. It kept pausing on me. I didn't like that. It kept
saying,
you
chance to rewatch it at least?
Yeah.
Yes, I rewatched it. So we did get through it, but you know, like it took like an hour and a half or something. But we rewatched it again tonight.
Yeah. By the way, a little trivia. This is actually the longest Discovery episode so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just by a few seconds longer than episode 4, but it was about 49 and a half minutes. And yes, including the previously on and all the stuff at the end, but still the longest considering all that.
Well, and I never look at how long the episode is because I just start it. I watch it on my computer with my husband because the apps don't work right for me. And so we put it on and we put it in full screen, and basically there's nothing else on the screen except the episode. I moved my cursor so there's no bar at the bottom. So yeah, I just don't pay attention to that.
I'm always very aware of it because I can actually rarely watch it when it actually drops because I'm usually like at my mother-in-law's house when we have dinner with her and do stuff. So I have to watch it like a couple hours later. But before then, sometime I just go into the app and just see like how long is it going to be? Because I'm just curious. It's like the only thing I can do until I can watch it. But
well, that is completely understandable.
Acutely aware of how long it is. But yeah, it's the longest one by a little bit. And it also had
Well,
the
now
second
this is an
longest
interest-
teaser as well. It had a really long teaser too. It was about 10
Oh, I
minutes.
didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it
because
was.
they
Oh,
did
yeah, I
all
guess
the
it was.
previously on. Well, they did stuff, and then they did previously on. It's like here's a little previously on, but we're not calling it previously on, and now it's previously on. So it's just like, bleh,
Yeah. Wasn't
extra
the
long.
longest teaser like 14 minutes?
It was 14 minutes. It was The Wolf Inside. Yeah.
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 But this was the
So
second one.
So let me ask you, I like how Justin is measuring everything about the episode. It's the longest of everything here. But so this is a unique situation here in the States because the Super Bowl was on at the same time that this episode dropped. So
Yeah.
did you guys watch the Super Bowl and had to manage this within, or how did you do this?
Unless a team I really, really like is playing, I don't do the Super Bowl. And since I liked neither of the teams that were playing, I basically was just playing Dead Rising 4 for most of it and checking my computer and to see when that episode of Discovery dropped, which this time it didn't drop until the actual scheduled time. It was not early.
Really?
Not early at all.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I haven't watched it for some years, so it was always going to be Discovery. Although, of course, I couldn't watch it until later. I usually end up watching it like maybe 2.5 to 3 hours after it drops. So I have all this anticipation I have to work out on Sundays, but eventually I watch it.
Well, I did watch the Super Bowl, and after the halftime show ended, then we paused the Super Bowl, even though it continued live on its own.
They didn't stop the
game
right?
for me.
Okay.
You're right, exactly. No, but we paused it on our DVR. Tried to watch Discovery, which took forever because all the pauses, the loading we were having problems with. And my wife kept saying, like, do you think it's because so many people are watching Discovery right now? I said, I think a lot of people are watching the Super Bowl right now.
I don't know, because I saw some polls online among Trek fans, and most of them were saying, yeah, I'm going to watch Discovery instead of the Super Bowl. So
I was looking more forward to Discovery over the Super Bowl anyway. So I can relate.
And of course, the people outside the US are like, Super Bowl? Who cares? I was going to watch Discovery anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Burnham couldn't watch Giorgio die again. That was her reasoning for bringing her over. So she had all these other excuses, and then she had to admit it really had to do that she couldn't let her die again. I think, what? I think that was the start of making this whole episode an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that she said, I could give you these excuses. And she says all these excuses that make perfect sense. But she says, but I can't, because that's not why I did this. And she was truthful with Saru because she can be that now. They trust each other. And so she can say these things and know that he will understand where she's coming from and not judge her. But he did tell her, this may be a very bad mistake that you've made. We'll see. And she knows that. I think she knows that already. So it was a very emotional choice that she made.
Yeah, and I was actually impressed by how many different like combinations of interactions there were that were emotional. It's like there was Saru and Burnham, there was Burnham and Tyler, there was Stamets and Tyler, there was, Georgiou and Burnham. I mean, there was like this whole long list of all of these interactions. And what I really liked about this episode was it could be that the previous episode was kind of better and a little bit more exciting overall. But this was still a really excellent episode. And I like that they kind of took some time after all of this crazy stuff that's happened, and they're going to dig into some of people like processing what's going on and trying to deal with all the crazy stuff that happened. So I liked that it wasn't quite as action packed or crazy, but there was all of these character moments and all this development going on, and I loved all of that. Even if it's not quite my favorite episode, it's close because there was so much great stuff going on.
Yeah, that's what I loved about it. It didn't feel rushed. They just allowed it to play out, allowing these character moments without just trying to get them in and go to the next thing or the next action scene. It really I felt like it just allowed everything to settle, that we could really just breathe in these relationships on the Discovery and make it feel like an actual starship in the Star Trek universe. And I don't know, but it made it feel more Star Trek because of that. And because of Lorca being gone, I really felt like the crew has just settled in to be a real Starfleet crew.
Yeah, I agree on that front. And this is one of the most difficult things to do, is to have, a really intense little story arc, and then you still have 2 episodes left. It's not just end of a season and let's start fresh next time. They actually deal with what happens next. And so many shows are not brave enough to do that. They're just like, feelings, stuff. No, nobody wants to watch that. Actually, I do. I like seeing these people interact. I want to see them interact because that makes them more real. That gives them layers and depth that they wouldn't normally have. And I want that. Give me more.
Yeah. And I mean, this was done, I think, of course, very differently, but in a way, like what it was doing to kind of stop to process what happened, it reminded me of the TNG episode Family, which took place after the Best of Both Worlds, where it was like, this big things happened. Let's just pause and take a moment to say, there are some consequences. People are going to have to deal with this. It's going to be tough. I mean, of course, in TNG, then the next week it was like, oh, everything's fine. But I mean, in Discovery, I think that's going to continue, and it's going to be this gradual process. And I really like that we're going to be able to kind of see them like evolve from week to week and deal with these things over time.
I think this is the episode where I really fell in love with the crew. I've been falling in love with them. I'm ready to propose and get married. That's how I am right now.
Oh, okay. So next week's episode, Will You Take My Hand, is about you getting married to the crew, right?
Exactly. I think they know that. Yeah. Well, the chat room is just very active right now. I mean, they're like all over the place with all these great things to talk about. I don't even know where to start. Are you guys looking at this stuff? Like, well, here, Little Green Neighbor says that I'm outside the US. I can only watch it Monday morning. So I watched the Super Bowl with 2 friends. There you go. Somebody's watching Super Bowl outside of the country.
I mean, I know people do outside of the US, but I assume it's not as big of a thing as it is here.
No, it's not.
Yeah, plus it's a completely different time for them. So, like,
and
if they're yeah.
No, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they're in a country that is in, further west of us, then they're going to get it even earlier than the day. But like in Europe, it's like, let's see, it aired at 4:30 here. That would have made it 11:30 in England.
Yeah,
and other surrounding places.
And I think it's like at 8 a.m. GMT. So it's something like 8 or 9 hours later.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what part of Europe you're in. But we don't need to talk about time zones. Good Lord, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
All we care about is Discovery.
Yeah.
Yes, tangent. You got to stop me from wandering, guys.
And Little Green Neighbor also says, I actually like this episode a lot more than the last one. I kind of agree with that. I think I like this a little better than the previous one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little hard because it's going for something quite different than the last episode. I mean, I think the last one gets a slight edge, but this one was also really excellent. And I like that they're doing something different. It's not like, okay, you had the big action-packed episode last time, let's give you another one. They're doing something like a little bit different. So, but yeah, I really appreciated what they were doing.
Yeah, I think I like this one a little better than the last episode because the last few episodes have all been all this action and all this stuff happening in the Mirror Universe, and then we just kind of settle things down, and so it felt a little different. So I like when I watch episodes of Star Trek, I like it when each episode from the next feels a little different from the previous one. So I think that's why I like it a little beher. But I mean, as of right now, most of all these episodes are about the same level for me.
It's pretty serious. I mean, I don't think somehow like, next week or in the middle of season 2, we'll get like, the hilarious comedy romp episode. It's not like really that kind of show, I don't think. But
please just never do that. I mean, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad was about as close as I want to come to a romp.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
yes. Well, maybe we'll have a musical.
No. You
don't want a whole episode that's just Caecilian opera telling the story of what happened on Discovery in that week.
No, I do not. I do not want that.
Okay. All right.
Not
That's clear.
everybody can or should do a musical episode. Now, there are a few people in the cast that could pull it off, but
Yeah.
let's just not ever do that, please.
Well, and this show we may do a musical version after the season, just so we can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, what, Justin?
Oh no, I was just going to
You
ask a
just-
question. Like, were you guys
Oh, I
surprised
thought
like
you were
I
gonna start
was?
singing.
No. I don't do that
Okay.
usually.
Okay.
Has to be a good
So-
reason. This isn't a good enough reason. No, I was
So
I
what's
was
your
gonna
question?
say. No, I was gonna say like, were you surprised like I was at the beginning that they were like, oh, the Mirror Discoveries was destroyed 9 months ago. I thought that they would be there. There'd be some confrontive. No, it was just gone.
No,
I
I
was surprised.
I wasn't surprised, actually. I thought if the ISS Discovery was running around attacking, well, think about it, because that was Captain Killy, and she's from a universe where all aliens are enemies. So what is she going to do when she sees a Klingon ship? She going to attack it, whether she can win or not. The thing
True.
is that she doesn't understand the Klingons in the Prime universe, and I'm pretty sure they made short work of her with no spore drive to help her out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it makes sense, but I thought it would have been interesting to have a certain symmetry, like the Mirror Discovery arrives and they somehow figure out where they are and to disguise themselves and to wreak havoc that way. But no, it wasn't going to go that way, was it?
no, it wasn't, because they don't have that kind of, the Terran Empire doesn't have that kind of foresight. If they find there's themselves in enemy territory, what they're going to do is fight.
Although I have to say, I think that Emperor Giorgio is actually one of the more kind of pragmatic and adaptable people that we've seen from the Terran Empire, because like when they were in the Mirror Universe, she was going to listen to Burnham's plan and kind of see how things go along. And now in this episode is going to kind of go along with it. I mean, I think it's a little bit different than what we've seen sometimes where it's like they just go crazy and start, killing people. I think she's a little savvier, a little more adaptable so far.
Yeah, she's adaptable to a point, but I am convinced that everything she is doing for herself. There is whatever angle she's playing, it's going to benefit her, or she wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
That's just the way she is.
What do you think? What do you think the angle she's playing is?
Oh, I think that she thinks that she's going to somehow get her own ship and basically run off and become some kind of pirate, perhaps. Maybe she thinks that she can take over the Prime universe the same way that she took over everything in the Mirror universe.
Maybe she thinks she has a plan to actually take over the Federation in some
I
way.
would not doubt it, because the Federation is on its last legs at this point.
Yeah.
So
see, I think a little differently. I was thinking she may try to take over the Klingon Empire.
Oh, good luck with that.
Well, I don't.
They're all in factions. They're all disorganized.
She would never be accepted by them.
I don't think so. I think if she turned Kronos into a cinder in the Mirror universe, she'd want to do the same thing in this universe.
Yeah, that's what she would do. But the thing is, she doesn't want to unite all the great houses. And even if she tried, they couldn't even unite under one leader before. Yeah. And they tried to get everyone to unite under Takuvma. That didn't work out. Then Cole comes along. That didn't work out because they blew his butt out of the sky. And so you would think that someone else would rise to the occasion, but no, they just are like, okay, we're done trying this unity thing. Every Klingon for themselves.
Well, Automated Joy says that Giorgio runs off with Harry Mudd.
Oh
Lord, she can't. She would never. She would kill him in like 5 minutes of being around him.
Oh, we wouldn't have a problem with that, I'm sure. But Tara also says, why is Cornwell giving Giorgio a ship after she just fell for the same thing that Lorca did?
Well, it's interesting to try to guess the motivation. I mean, I think part of the difference is that she didn't know that Lorca was from the mirror universe, and she knows exactly who Giorgio is. And in these like very desperate times, she's telling herself that she can control the situation. I think that's part of what's going on. But I mean, I think it's different in that she didn't know really what was going on with Lorca. And she knows exactly what's going on with Giorgio, and she's feeling like, I'm putting her in the captain's chair. I've got control. I'm going to try to get control over this. I mean, I think even in the episode, when Cornwell and Sarek were talking about it, they knew it was a huge risk, but they feel like, what else can we do? You know?
Well, because Giorgio says she wants freedom. That's what she wants in exchange for helping out.
Yeah.
She didn't say
What
like
does that
in
mean?
that other part of the episode. Yeah. Originally she was like, I want to go home. And then later her terms are freedom, which is different, could be different than
Right.
going back to the mirror universe, right?
Exactly.
It's possible. Maybe she wants freedom so that she can find a way back into her own universe. But I don't know why she would want to go back there, because she would be going back there to die. She was a deposed emperor, so
Maybe just to try to gather some allies and take over again with whoever is emperor now. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's a little hard to tell where things are going, but I think that it seems probably likely she's not going to make it out of the next episode.
I guess we will see.
We'll see. It could go either way, but I don't know. Are they going to have like Michelle Yeoh on the show in a longer than this season?
I don't know, especially when she's still listed as special guest star.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think that they've gotten used to doing that now, so people won't suspect what's coming, because let's face it, we've all been really good at working a lot of these things out over the weeks that Discovery has been on, and in that interim between part 1 and part 2. So maybe they've learned their lesson.
I think the only thing that might argue against her not dying in the next episode is that, like, are they going to put Burnham through that as well as all the other stuff that she's dealing? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
It's a lot,
is
right?
A bit much. It is. I don't know. And I don't want her to really. I love Michelle Yeoh, but I don't want a mirror universe character continuing on with this series. Like, the mirror universe was fine. We're done. And I don't want to just keep it going. I don't want it to just keep coming up all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want mirror episodes every season. That's not
but I mean, like having a mirror character in the Prime universe, I would be okay with it as long as, I don't know, there's just something that changes or develops about the character. But that would be really difficult because I think she's pretty set in her ways. But I love seeing Michelle Yeoh, so for me, I'd say any excuse to keep her on as long as you can. But
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Tide Waters in the chat says Cornwell is an admiral and diplomat always. She feels she has the skill set to control this. Also, it is easier to have others kill than for Cornwell to kill.
That's true.
That's true. Although, I mean, I guess the given reason that Giorgio's there as the captain is to help get them to Kronos, and that didn't quite make sense to me. Like, they know where the planet is and they know how to do the jump. So what is she going to bring to it? Right?
Maybe she's willing to sacrifice herself. Like, she was ready to die in the mirror universe because she was basically a defeated emperor and she had no future and she was willing to die. And now maybe that's what she wants her freedom to do, is she doesn't have a place in this universe either. So let me finish this. Let me do this mission for you. And I'll sacrifice myself to make this happen.
I don't think that she's thinking that. I mean, I think that she thinks there is some sort of way that she can, get her way, and isn't thinking about sacrificing herself. Because I mean, honestly, like, if she felt that, there was nothing for her, why even like help them or do anything? It's for some end that she thinks will get her something and she can keep going, right? At least that's what I think.
Yeah, that's what I think too. She is not the kind of person that just gives up and decides to make friends in the Prime universe. That is not her. So I don't know to what end she's working, but she's basically using the goodwill of the Federation and of the crew and commanders of Discovery to manipulate them into getting where she wants to be. Where that is, I can't really speculate at this point. There's so many ways it can go, but
it really is.
I just
it's amazing we only have one episode left this season to wrap this stuff up.
I know.
Well, okay. All that the showrunners have said is that the Klingon War will be wrapped up. That doesn't mean all of the threads and things that they've been, pulling through would be wrapped up, right? There are going to be things, I think, that come over into the second season, but the Klingon War, I don't think, is going to be one of them.
Right. But I feel like she's connected to and maybe this doesn't wrap her story up, but that just kind of bothers me that she'll still be out there doing something, past this. I don't know. I'm really intrigued to see what they go and where they go with her. But what do you think of the scenes that she had with Burnham? Because she's discovers that Burnham was raised by Sarek. And I love the exchange between Giorgio and Sarek too, when they talk about their daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Seeing who's the proudest parent.
Which may be why later we get the smallest sign of affection from Sarek when they're saying goodbye, and he puts his hand on her shoulder. I'm like, oh my lord, he touched her.
I know. I saw that and I was like, whoa.
that's like flat out for Sarek anyway. That's like flat out saying I love you and I'm proud of you in touch form.
That's
it's
like a
just,
human giving a bear hug or something, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I'm like, oh my lord, he's touching her in an affectionate way, in a comforting way. What's going on? It's just a man thinking he may never see his daughter again.
It's funny that we all picked up on that because we're so used to Star Trek and Vulcans not touching.
Yeah.
And we see that.
Yeah, and that just like the simple touch, it's like this like waving flag, like something really different is happening here. To something else.
Yeah, well, and especially Sarek, who is even more closed off because of the decision he made to choose Spock over her for getting into the scientific exploration group, and that guilt still haunts him.
Didn't admit to that really in Lethe. Yeah.
No, he wouldn't admit it, and she said that they would eventually talk about it, but maybe there'll be time for that later if they all survive. Well, we know Sarek has to survive. It's not like he can die at this point because continuity.
Out of everybody we've seen, at the very least, we know Sarek and Mudd are going to survive for a while, right? At the very least.
Yeah.
Everybody else, who knows, right?
Everyone else dies at the end of this series except for Mudd and Sarek.
Yeah, next episode, like the whole crew and everybody we know except for Sarek and Mudd die, and then what is the show? No, that's not going to happen.
No.
Very highly doubt that, and I would cry for a year.
We don't want that.
So, fortune cookies, they're gone.
I love how Cornwell vaporized the bowl of fortune cookies. I thought that was great. Maybe a little over the top, but still great.
Yeah, cookies. And
the crazy thing is, like, I saw that, I rewatched it today, and then after that, I was like, I'm going to eat a fortune cookie right now. For some reason, it made me want to eat one because it's forbidden, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, so have you had a fortune cookie since this series started? Because if you do, I can't think you had to think of the series when you eat a cookie now, right? A fortune cookie.
Oh, at least yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Always think of Lorca. It'll be a little tribute to Lorca.
I just want to put a bowl at my office of fortune cookies like Lorca has, but the problem is mine will probably be all individually wrapped and not just laying out like that.
Well, you could individually unwrap them and then put them in the bowl.
They'll stale.
Have you heard of this thing called saran wrap or even press and seal? You can cover them at night when you go home.
Is that what Lorca did? He used his saru wrap. I mean,
Now
his
at this
saran
point,
wrap.
they can just replicate cookies, fortune cookies that don't get stale. I don't know.
Todd
Maybe-
says in the chat, when Cornwell shot the cookies, did you see the look on Burnham's face? She was
It
like,
did. It was like,
okay.
what?
well, Cornwell's bitter. She's bitter about her Lorca, and who can blame her? Because she was taken in by Mirror Lorca as well, and she's a freaking psychologist, guys. If anyone should have known, it should have been her. And I think that that is part of her anger, is that she didn't see it.
Yep.
Yeah, what happened to the tribble? Because Iontron mentions the tribble.
I hope somebody's
Iontron
taking care of it.
Well, Iontron thinks the tribble was eating Lorca's cookies too.
Well, if that were true, then how could you have a tribble eating without reproducing unless it was a special tribble that had been somehow sterilized? Because otherwise, that ship would be full to the brim of tribbles. We know this to be true.
This is one thing I was wondering, not necessarily from this episode, but the previous ones. But now that we know that Lorca was from the Mirror Universe, all these things, the tribbles and the skeleton of the Gorn and such, is that something that was left over from the Prime Lorca, or was this something that the Mirror Lorca gathered while he was in the Prime Universe?
Oh, I think the Mirror Lorca gathered it.
You think?
Yeah, I would think so, because Prime Lorca supposedly died on the Baran with his crew. And that's when Mirror Lorca took over.
Yeah, and Cornwell was talking about the Prime Lorca, that he was, I forget the word she used, but it was something like he was more like reasonable and measured about stuff. So, yeah.
Well,
and we're going to get to read about him soon.
Yes, we do get to read about him in Drastic Measures, which I have right.
You already have it.
Is it tomorrow? It's tomorrow that comes out,
tomorrow.
right?
It comes. Oh, that's right. It comes out tomorrow. Sorry. Yes, it comes out tomorrow. So, but then Cornwell mentions in this episode that her Lorca would have been sent to the Mirror Universe, was switched places, and he would not have survived in that environment. No Starfleet officer on their own would have survived. So she assumed he died.
No.
But we don't really know, do we?
No, we don't.
We don't really know. However, Jason Isaacs is making it sound like he is not coming back in any incarnation of Lorca, so I don't know what to believe.
Was lying to us for months.
I know.
So what can we believe?
I don't know, but he was saying that Discovery was better off without him as far as the ship.
You know what? It's going to kill me that they've said we won't know what is up with that green spore until season 2.
Yeah.
I don't care. I like.
I'm going to think about it. Like, is it Lorca? Is it Culber? Is it something else? I'm going to think about that. It's going to keep me up at night for like 11 months. Sorry.
Really?
And maybe we find out it's nothing. And maybe we just find out next season that Tilly's like, I just have this little rash on my shoulder. And they're like, just everyone avoid the green spores. They're poisonous.
I don't know if I was just looking for it, but it seemed like in this episode that Tilly was a little bit different. Like that, and I don't know exactly how to describe it, but there was something about her manner that was a little different. Did you notice that?
I did, and I think that it is a direct result of what she went through in the Mirror Universe, that she had to take on this persona of Captain Killy and basically learn to lie, which she is very much not good at first, but she really starts to own it, and she got a sense of confidence from that, but she also got to look into what she could be and what anyone could be if they let the darkness rule them, and she even says that.
Okay.
And so this fundamentally changed her life and her view of herself. And I think, though she has never been one to suffer in silence, I think that she's going to put herself forward even more and take more chances, more risks, and say what she really thinks, like what she told Michael. And, you know, the scene that made me cry when she got up and sat with Tyler, and then other people followed suit. She's she's leader material now, and she knows it, and she's going to pursue it.
Okay. That makes more sense than me thinking the green spore has changed her.
That didn't even occur to me.
That totally, I mean, I was like, okay, this green spore entered, in her shoulder, and is it going to be different? But I think what you're saying is right, and it's coming from her. But there's that special green spore.
Yeah, I think what Brandy's saying sounds better than it being the spore. If it ends up being the spore, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I would be too. Okay, good. You've convinced me. All right.
Okay,
but it's really interesting about Tilly's growth because, she's not that awkward, like, oh, I don't know what to say, and I'm kind of all over the board, and I'm looking around, and oh, yeah. I mean, she's very confident.
She's a little more focused in what she's saying sometimes, right?
She is. I mean, just look at what she did when Tyler's in the mess hall, and she immediately gets up from the table and goes and sits with him. And when Burnham comes into engineering, she's helping Burnham through her situation with Tyler and her feelings and how to approach it. I mean, she's almost like a different character than what we start with. Yeah. She's like Troy. Not quite, but
although from toward the beginning of their friendship, I think they've kind of counseled each other and helped each other out in different ways. It's gone back and forth, which I love to see. So
yes. Yeah. And I think that the confidence that Tilly has gained from this experience has definitely made her input more focused. She no longer has these nervous word vomit sort of situations that she did early on in the season, especially when she first met Michael. That's classic Tilly right there, but she's past that now. Yeah. And she has a different view of herself and of her world. And it's fascinating it's going to be even more fascinating to watch her grow over the coming seasons.
Yeah. And it's not even just her growth, but the growth of this crew. And when I think about, episode 3 and 4, when we're in that early stages, I wasn't really loving the crew members. It just felt like something was off. And now we know why, because Lorca was leading them, and it felt more like a battleship and a war zone than it does a Starfleet ship.
And they were operating based on fear instead of based on like optimism and cooperation. So now we know why it was so different.
And that's what makes that scene with Tyler in the mess hall so good. And Dry Heaves in the chat says, loved when Tilly sat with Ash. And Dan says that scene reminded him of why he loves Tilly. It's his favorite character. But not just when she sat down with him, but then the other crew members come over.
Kayla follows suit next, and then suddenly it's a full table. So that was, I was like trying to not to ugly cry during that.
Yeah, but that was, to me, that was pure Starfleet. That was and I loved it. That was probably my favorite scene. Now that I think about it, there's a lot of the more we talk, I'm going to say, oh no, wait, I think this is my favorite scene.
Yeah. Well, since we touched on Tyler, should we talk about Burnham and Tyler?
Yes, let's do
that. And then we can get into my complicated feelings about it.
Oh, good.
So I understand where both characters are coming from. And I feel like Michael is having difficulty understanding that Tyler and Voq were inhabiting the same body, but they were not the same person. And so the actions of Voq had nothing to do with Tyler's wants and desires. And Michael is having trouble separating those things. And so is Stamets. Because, maybe, I don't know if Tilly's attitude would change if Tyler had killed someone really close to her. Or excuse me, Voq. I should say Voq, because that's not fair to say Tyler did it. Because that was Voq taking over. And so I understand his pleading with her, but as I was made aware of by my husband today, and it is something that was on the brink of my consciousness, and I just didn't have a way to put it into words. But what Michael actually did when basically Ash is begging her to help him, and she's like, no, you have to do this yourself, because she is stronger because of fighting through what she's fighting through. And she wants him to have that strength. And at the same time, she doesn't want to be that person who fixes her boyfriend.
Yeah.
He needs to fix himself. And then maybe things can progress. So it was actually, someone called it a really feminist thing by her saying, you got to work this out on your own, buddy. I got my problems too. Bye. So, and it still broke my heart because I also understand where Tyler is coming from. His consciousness put into this body, and it was without his permission. And who is he now? He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what he is. He is nothing that has ever existed before. How does he reconcile these things that he can remember Vogue doing with his body? And people died. People he liked and respected died. He tried to kill the woman he loved. What a burden that is. I think that's almost a worse burden than being, in prison for supposedly starting the Klingon War. Because it's so deeply intense and personal and happened directly to him in that body, and he had no control over it. That's horrifying. And it's so hard to watch him struggle. And yet I think ultimately Michael is right. He has to figure out himself for himself. Otherwise he'll never know who or what he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and another thing, like as I was rewatching it, because I feel for both of them. They've both been through so much, and it breaks your heart. And Shazad Latif's performance and Sonequa Martin Green's performance, it makes you really, really feel it, right? But what did bother me about the way Tyler was going about it was, I mean, he was saying, I can't make my way back without you. And you could interpret that as, give me support and help in this. Or you could interpret it as him trying to pressure her to stay in the relationship. And if that's what he's doing, then that definitely bothers me, because at this point she's like, we can't continue this because you're basically a different person than I knew. I don't know what to make of this. I need to take a break from this and deal with some things. But he was kind of like begging her and pleading her, like, don't break up with me. We need to like keep this relationship going. And I don't think that's right for him to try to put that pressure on. But at the same time, like, he's coming from a place of like desperation and not even knowing where he is. So it's like, it's understandable, but I think her response is exactly the right one. Like, you haven't worked things out, and this is a relationship when you don't know who you are, just not a good idea. So it is complicated. It's very complicated what they've written this thing into, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is. NeoStar9 says, also she does mention that he lied about coming to her when it got too hard, and he purposely chose not to go to her or to get help. And that, I mean, there's just so much complication in lies and misunderstandings, or maybe it's not lies. I mean, he doesn't know what's going on with him, and he's confused, and he doesn't know how to reach out.
And the thing that makes it even harder to assess is, it would be one thing if it's like, there's the real Ash Tyler that's had this life, was in Starfleet, this Vogue personality was forced onto him. But as far as we understand it, it's almost like this Ash Tyler was constructed and a Vogue put on top of it, and the real, original Ash Tyler, died or was somewhere else or whatever. So it's not even like, okay, you get rid of the Vogue and the real Ash Tyler is there, because that Ash Tyler was also built up for Klingon purposes, right? So it's like, how do you even assess that?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's completely new territory for everybody. And figuring out how to navigate that is going to be difficult at best. But it's such an interesting situation.
It is. I mean, the only thing I can think of in Star Trek that makes me think about this just a little bit, is the Trill having like a host and a symbiont. So there are like these two different personalities that contribute to things. And, sometimes we see in Star Trek, there's some, past personality or something that's making you do something bad, right? I mean, that's maybe the closest thing, but I think this is a lot more complicated in what's going on, and a lot harder to figure out like which way to take it,
Yeah, it's interesting, because it makes a person wonder, if they had access to Tyler and his consciousness, why didn't they just put Voke's consciousness into Tyler?
I've been wondering that too.
And maybe it's because maybe Voke still wanted to have that body. I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe they did it for the sake of just saying they could and be successful at it. And that they could use this to create other humans that would be sleeper agents. And
I mean, maybe at this point, this is the only way that their method of like the species transformation can work.
Yeah,
and that they haven't quite gotten to the place we see in the original series where you have like Arn Darvin, and it's like, okay, that is a Klingon that's kind of been made to look like a human, and you know that's a little bit different. Maybe this is just where they're at this point, you know?
Yeah, well, they explained all of that in Enterprise, okay? But anyway, it's actually very well done. But anyway, and L'Rell did say that he was the test case. It was the first time they had ever done this procedure in its entirety. So
well, I don't know if they said it was the first time they did the procedure, but he was the test case for infiltrating the Federation. That's how I took it.
Okay. I can be taken both ways, I suppose. I guess we'll find out, but makes you wonder.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I hope they've done it more than once before they tried this, but yeah. Maybe not.
Well, you know that scene way back in the early part of the season where L'Rell says she's going to take him to these matriarchs, and he asks what he'll have to sacrifice, and she said everything. Yeah, she meant everything.
Yes.
Well, Dan Gunther in the chat, Dan Gunther from Literary Treks here on Trek FM, says it's Burnham also saying that Tyler's trauma isn't necessarily more important than her own. They've both been traumatized, and Burnham needs to engage in self-care first. And that's true really in any relationship. You can't give to a relationship until you actually deal, or just, you got to love yourself first. And you got to put yourself together as much as you can. But I'd also think that she was looking for the help of Ash to help with her issues, and she doesn't trust him to help her. So she's got to do it on her own.
Well, she's done it all on her own pretty much up until she met Tyler. And she's done pretty well so far. So I think that her continuing that struggle, knowing that she's capable of making it through, because look how much she's already been through.
Yep.
So she knows now that she's a stronger person. She knows now that whatever comes, she's not going to break. And she wants Tyler to be able to get to that point, but he can't be helped there. That's something you have to do yourself. You have to take that upon yourself, because it's true. Unless you love yourself, no one's going to truly love you.
Yeah.
And you won't truly love anyone either. You've got to love yourself. And if that sounds selfish, then so be it, because take care of yourself so that you can be a good human being to others.
But I like how Burnham describes it toward the end of that conversation. I mean, she says that effectively she has to reclaim her life, and that it can be punishing, relentless, and solitary. Like she's saying, I've been through all of this over this period of time, but there's all this other stuff that's happened. It's going to take time. I mean, it's not going to take a day, a week, a month, a year. It's going to take a long time to really deal with the consequences of all of this. And it'll be interesting to see if you do kind of continually see like her adjusting to that and that work being done over like multiple seasons, because I don't think we've quite seen something like that in Star Trek before. That would be really interesting. But she's saying it can take a long time. And in reality, in real life, when you've been through these things, it can take a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, agreed. And no one can tell you how long that journey is going to take. There's no specific timetable for getting through X trauma. So, or, this trauma or that trauma. There's no timetable, which is why it really irritates me when people tell other people how long they should be grieving. Shut up. So, I feel like the thing is that Ash has to do the same thing. He has to reclaim his life. He has to figure out what his life is, who he is, and move forward from there. Until he does that, he's really not worth anything to anybody, including himself. And she knows that.
Because if you're saying like, I don't know who I am, then how is it possible for you to have like, a positive relationship? You need to find out like who you are and how you're going to deal with things in life first, I would think. So
absolutely.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah. Tyler's not one to be in a relationship at this point. He's got to figure things out himself. And in a lot of ways, did you think he kind of came across as a jerk when he was you just don't want to be in a relationship with me because you realize now you fell in love with the Klingon, and Klingons were the one that killed your parents. And she just gave him a look like,
that was kind of it was kind of brutal, but she's like, all right, maybe that's true. But I mean, yeah, he's doing these things. It seems like he's lashing out, right? And trying to figure things out. But goodness, I mean, I don't know. He may be one of the most complex characters we've ever seen in Star Trek because we could talk about it for hours, probably, just based on what we've seen with him since episode 5. I mean, it's something else.
I'm just, all I can say is I'm overjoyed that he's still with us, because
good point. Yes, because we wanted.
Yeah, even with all of these complications, Shazad Latif is so good at what he does that I will willingly watch any journey he goes through on this show.
Absolutely. I mean, even if it's true that he's never going to be really able to participate in Starfleet again or all these things, I hope they find a way to like keep him in the show, because Shazad Latif is doing an incredible job. I mean, they're all doing a great job, but like what he has, and I think I said this before when we were talking about The Wolf Inside, like what he's having to do on these different levels in this uncharted territory is just amazing. I mean, it's incredible what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't know where they found him, but I am so grateful they did, because he's brilliant. He's just brilliant. That's all I have to say. He's brilliant.
Yes, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
So, on a lighter note, I just want to throw this out before we even get to the end of this episode, but when they mentioned Archer and the NX-01, I squealed like a Tellarite who just got his tail pulled. I was like so thrilled to hear that mention. And Brandi, of course you did, because you do Warp 5 here on Trek FM about Enterprise.
Yeah, there was crying on my part. I'm getting misty just thinking about it right now, because it was such an important moment for me, because Enterprise has really become such, it's hard to put into words. It's become so important to me. And to hear this new Star Trek series, this thing that takes place, 100 odd years in the future from Enterprise, that they remember their history and validate this show, because it's really treated as the redheaded stepchild of Star Trek, and it does not deserve that reputation. It is a way better show than people give it credit for. And I used to be one of those people that I was kind of like, Enterprise, and then I rewatched it all. I'm like, oh, I was so wrong. So I was, that was my reaction. Is, give me a tissue.
I was so happy because I love Enterprise as well, but I have to admit there was like a split second there where Cornwell was talking about we'll be the first to go to Kronos since Admiral Archer almost or not, she didn't say Admiral, since Jonathan Archer almost 100 years ago. And for a second, before I remembered that it wouldn't be possible, I was like, did they get Scott Bakula to be like Archer and like to take them there? And then I was like, oh, there was that screen and was in A Mirror Darkly where they said he was already dead by this point. But for a split second, I was like, how cool would that be? Like, he's the one that's been there. He knows how to get us there. But no.
Yeah, that was their first mission in the NX-01.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that we are getting acknowledgement to that series, and even the Kelvin Timeline movies have acknowledged Enterprise, which is amazing because Enterprise, ratings wise, is the least popular viewed of the Star Trek series. And I think I love the fact that these movies and this TV series aren't saying, oh, not many people are that familiar with Enterprise, we can ignore it. I love that they're making acknowledgement that it does exist. And if anything, maybe that will make more people go back and watch Enterprise that didn't watch it before.
I hope so. I hope there were a lot of people watching who haven't seen Enterprise who were like, Archer, NX-01, maybe I need to look into this. I hope so.
And I heartily recommend all of those people do look into it. Don't be like me. Don't be like me and wait until 17 years after it premiered to go back and rewatch it. Just do it. Do it now. Even if you've never seen it, give it a chance, because it's so much better than the masses give it credit for, I should say. So.
Yeah, and then when you watch it, tune to Warp 5 podcast and listen to everybody talk about it.
Yeah, come on over to Warp 5. We're very friendly.
Well, we don't have that much time left. I feel like there's a lot of things we didn't touch on. Is there anything?
Yeah, I know there's so many things, but I have 2 possibly quick things.
Let's do it, Justin.
Okay. How cool was it seeing, Stamets and his little spore children?
It was so tender.
I love that. And, I watched After Trek, and there was this question that came up, like, how long did it take to do that sequence? They were working on that for 3 months, that sequence on the moon with the, the terraforming and the spores.
Oh, wow.
And it looked great. And I was like, this is awesome. And of course, it made me think of the Genesis project. And there was all this, I was watching it just I don't know, in awe that they were growing their own crop on a moon like that. But
no, anyway. I love that too. It was that whole science element. And yeah, it reminded me of the Genesis plan. Not necessarily, it had that same feeling to me.
It had that same feel like you're bringing life to this barren place.
Right.
So even if the method was different, it was like that. And that sense of wonder when you first saw the Genesis planet, like, wow, they're just creating life.
And it's a method we haven't seen before. That's what I loved. It wasn't like, okay, we've seen this before. Oh, this is like in Deep Space Nine, or oh, this is like in Voyager. Like we've never seen that before. And I love seeing new things like that.
And I don't think O'Brien and Bashir were using EM darts in Quarks, right? I love that they had these things they called EM darts. Anyway, it was a cool sequence.
It was, and my husband also said, Genesis project. So we were all thinking it.
Yes. So was there something else?
Yeah, there was a second thing.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that they're actually going to be successful in doing a jump to the inside of like an underground cave on Kronos? Because I was just thinking about that. Like, what would that even look like? That would be crazy. You think that's actually
going to happen? We didn't see it in the preview. We didn't see it in the
There's
teaser.
nothing in the preview. I mean, clearly that's their plan. But I was like, inside.
Well, because we know the Enterprise can go underwater. We've seen that.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, we've seen before, like the Enterprise D go into like an asteroid. Although maybe that was the phasing cloak. I don't know, but that's the closest thing I can think of. No, they were going around. Yeah, go ahead.
Dry Heave says we did see it in the preview. I didn't notice it.
I don't think so. I have to rewatch the preview because I don't think I saw what looked like the Discovery like inside an underground cave.
Well, and even if they did show something like that, they wouldn't give away that whole big deal in the next week on. So, they're going to save something.
Brandi, even your husband says they showed thrusters keeping it in place inside the cave.
Yeah,
we have to go back and rewatch that.
We'll have to
yeah, but it doesn't show it jumping into it, does it? Like it just shows them in the cave.
Well, the part in the cave is what I wanted to see. Okay.
Oh, all right then. I was just going to be super specific about it.
Neo Star 9 says it's a really quick scene. We'll have to go back and watch for that.
I'll have to go watch. But I just love the concept that they're going to like do a spore jump to an underground cave on Kronos. So.
I know. It's so cool. Anyway. Again, it's something different.
Yeah, and this is why I love watching Discovery with Dave, is because he will pick up on things that I don't and vice versa. And so it's like together we make like one fully confirmed opinion because he sees this, I see that. Now we all see it. So thanks, babe. I appreciate you. I know you're watching.
He can hear you from the other room too.
He can. It's very disorienting.
Do you think they'll find a Horta in the cave?
A Klingon Horta? I don't think so.
I hope not, because if they did, it would be a miracle that the Klingons hadn't hunted down and killed it.
Well, maybe they've been stashing tribbles in the caves.
The Horta is raising tribbles and attacks Emperor Georgiou and kills him. See, this is why I should write the show. I'm going to go to Toronto and do that.
Yeah, maybe fan fiction, but not the show, Bruce. I'm sorry. No.
All right. Anything else? Anybody in the chat have anything? Because we're like just about
Didn't get any tweets this time?
No, we didn't.
Oh, okay. we've now been.
It's just more fun in the chat, I guess.
It is.
I guess so. We've been called the Jackola dynamic duo by Todd Waters. We are. We're like, I don't want to say we're like the Wonder Twins because that would make us brother and sister, and that's gross. So, but there are times that we would do Wonder Twin powers activate, and then, you know, he would be something like a bucket of water, and I'd be some strange flying mammal. Because that was the thing. She could only turn into an animal, and he could only turn into water-based things. That was the thing.
Justin, do you know what she's talking about?
I don't.
Oh my God. Okay. You guys never watched Super Friends? The cartoon?
I'm familiar with Super Friends, Zan and Jaina, and then Gleek the monkey. So yes, I'm very familiar. But I knew not everybody is.
Nope.
She scared me there for a minute, Bruce. Punch you in the face.
We have them all on DVD. So.
Oh, well, okay. I feel much better now.
Yeah, Super Friends. We have Zan and Jaina, this Wonder Twins. So anyway, this isn't a Wonder Twins podcast.
Sorry. Again, tangent lane. I'm so sorry.
Oh, well, quick question. There's been some speculation that maybe there's so much to wrap up that next week's episode will be long, like super long or longer than usual. Do you guys think it will be?
That. I'm thinking that, yes. That did dawn on me.
I would not be surprised if it was a full hour or more.
Interesting, because I wouldn't be surprised if it was in the similar range, like 45 to 49 minutes.
I guess.
But I would love to have a longer one, but I wouldn't count on it being longer because they can do a lot.
Yeah, I'm not going to count on it. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not going to count on it by any means. Okay. So we'll just have to wait and see.
I often wonder when I see the last episode of a season, like in a show like this, if they did alternate endings, not knowing if it'd be renewed, and knowing that they're renewed, we're seeing the episode ending that is like almost like a cliffhanger, setting things up for season 2, as opposed to the one that would have wrapped things up in a pretty bow. I don't know. I don't think they did that, but it just it makes me wonder.
You should
and
tweet
also
Ted Sullivan about that. He might answer.
Yeah, I
can call him right now.
To me, it's something that I think plenty of first season shows would do well to adapt, because you never know if you're going to make it to that second season. So why not give people some closure? Why not just take the time to film that extra different ending just in case you need it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they should.
Alternate ending is that the Discovery purposely collides into whatever is now the Klingon flagship, and everybody dies. War ends, but everyone on the Discovery is dead. Anyway, it's been renewed, so that won't happen.
Yeah, no.
Yes, it won't happen. No. Well, we have an important comment here in the chat from Tara. She says Brandi's eye makeup is on point tonight.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. It's just, you know, my eyes. Plus, it matches like the colors of my shirt, so that's what I was going. No, it's really not. It's kind of OCD, but thank you ever so much. I appreciate that.
And also in the chat, people are saying they want a feature length or 2-hour finale, and also there apparently were Orions in the trailer. I missed that too. I need to watch that again.
Too.
There could be. You know, I actually noticed, I think for the next episode on IMDb, they had listed some Orion characters. So who knows how that plays into things. Yeah. Shoot, I'm going to have to rewatch that because there's 2 things that I missed.
Same here. I'm going to do that as soon as we're done.
Are they talking about the one at the end of the episode or the one on After Trek?
I don't know. Good question. I haven't watched After Trek. I usually do watch it, but I don't get to see it.
And they don't always have like an alternate like trailer for the next one, but this time they did, and it's very interesting.
Well, let me ask the chat: what do you like better, After Trek or Live from the Edge? I'm just curious. So we'll see the response to that. But I want to mention real quick before we end. One of my favorite scenes we didn't mention is the Tyler Stamets scene, where Tyler, Stamets says, "Does it gut you? Does it sicken you?" I mean, it's just that I can't even imagine that relationship right there. Just talking about Burnham and Tyler, Stamets and Tyler. I mean, how is Stamets going to deal with seeing Tyler every day?
Well, how's Tyler going to deal with seeing Stamets every day?
Absolutely.
It
Exactly.
goes both ways.
It
It goes
does.
both ways.
It's very uncomfortable.
Maybe Cobra will come back and it won't be as bad. We'll see.
I
Still
don't.
hoping for that.
I just don't know what to expect, and that's fine. That is fine. I like it. I like being surprised.
I know. I like speculating.
Speculating is fun, but sometimes I just go. I'll just wait. I'll just wait and see, because that's what we do in this age of social media. We speculate something to death.
We do.
And it's fun at first, but after a while, I'm just like, nah, gonna wait and see now. So speculate away, Justin. You are welcome to it.
Some crazy stuff's going to happen next week.
Well
In the
done.
chat, there seems to be love for both After Trek and Live. It's almost split, but Live is Live on the edges favored just a little bit, especially the eye makeup. The makeup on After Trek is subpar, according to Tara. So
Yeah, well, that's because it's too much of a sausage fest sometimes. I'm not saying that from experience. I've actually never been able to sit through an episode
of After Trek.
Yeah,
it's gotten much better. I didn't quite like the first episode, but there's actually really interesting things there in interviews and previews.
Yeah.
I agree. I'll have to go back to it after Discovery is over.
Yes. Well,
I hate saying that.
well, yeah, more to watch. I remember, Brandi, because you saw the first After Trek before I did, and you were like, I didn't really like it. And I watched it, and I was like, yeah, I can see that. But I figured it might take time, and the host, it's
gotten much better.
Got a little comfortable and stuff. It's gotten better. They've settled in.
And I understand that, but see, I have had Matt Myra experience before After Trek and was not terribly fond of him to begin with. So, and that's nothing against him. It's just personal preference sort of thing. So, and I'm not saying he's a bad person. He's not. It's just something about his humor just does not compute with me.
Okay. Well, at the very least, watch the one with Jonathan Frakes. That was great.
Yeah.
I will so watch that. I heard so many good things about that.
That was really good seeing him.
He doesn't try to be, the host does, what's his name again? I forget.
Matt Myra.
He doesn't try to be as funny as he did in that first episode.
That is good, because that was painful.
Yeah. I think he was just trying, like, hey, I
know.
I think he was kind of nervous and a little like.
Oh, I believe it. I believe he was
Yeah.
super nervous, and this is like his dream job, and so he'd be super nervous about it. And I understand all of those things. So yeah, after Discovery ends, I will go back and
But
revisit.
it just ends for now. It'll be back.
Yes,
I know, but
it'll be
it's
back.
gonna be so long.
Like,
I know.
Vogue is gone for good, but Discovery is not. It will be
But
back.
is he?
No, I don't know if he is.
Maybe he's in Laurel.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's what I think too. I think
You're
I said that last
speculating.
time.
You're speculating.
No, I think I speculated that last time or the time before.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Or he's
We-
the green spore.
Oh
Oh no!
no! It would have to be a red spore. Klingon symbols are red.
I do not want that. I do not want that.
An Orion spore.
I
Why?
actually thought
And
that
from where?
I don't know.
So Tilly's going to turn into an Orion slave girl.
Oh no! Please.
That would be bad. Oh my gosh! Speaking of bad, I think we're done.
Yeah, I think we are done. We could speculate all evening, I'm sure, but I've got an
Okay.
episode of Warp 5 to record right after this.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, do you have any closing things to say, Brandi, like you usually do?
you know that I do, and there was the thought that maybe I would do a Scottish accent, but I was practicing all week, and I'm like, nope, that would be horrifying. So I'm gonna do it like someone walking on a treadmill, and the difficulty is increasing throughout. So it's gonna,
Oh my gosh!
You see, I told you I was gonna do it, Bruce. You
Oh,
didn't think
yes.
I was.
Oh no, I did. I was just hoping you wouldn't. No.
Oh, is that how it is now?
No, you do it, and I'll pretend I'm on the treadmill.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna do it like I am on the treadmill, because I get out of breath very quickly. Okay, so be sure to check out our Discovery coverage throughout the week. Live from the Edge airs on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, obviously, and will be released as a podcast on Tuesday mornings. And our commentary will be available as Tracks from the Edge with Mike Schindler on Wednesday. And we'll discuss your feedback on Postcards from the Edge on Thursday. And you can catch the full analysis on the Edge main show on Friday. Okay, to wrap up the week, join us for Notes from the Edge on Saturday with our own Chris Jones for links between Discovery and the broader franchise. Ooh, going up a hill now. You'll find all of these in the main feed for the Edge and in Trek FM Master Feed. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery. The best place to do that is Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook, and Amy Nelson collects your feedback from Postcards from the Edge. And you will find us on Twitter, Trek FM, or send us an email on the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and choose the Edge. Whew. Okay, associate producers, we would love to thank you. Norman Seelau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Playa, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, and Cornelia Reutner. And if you'd like to help us keep all of our shows and this really difficult treadmill going, and even become an AP, please visit patreon.com/trekfm for all the details.
Oh my goodness. I'm worn out.
And for people listening to the podcast, Bruce really did that whole time pump his arms up and down.
I don't know if you could watch that, Brandi, but you'll have to go back and watch that piece. I was trying to keep up.
I will totally go back and watch that because it'll still be on the website in the videos. So yeah, I'm going to go back and watch that because I was reading stuff, so I couldn't watch you at the same time. I'm so bummed now. I'm sure right. Dave will give me a full report on how funny it was. So.
Well, Justin, when you don't have a green spore falling on your shoulder, where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me elsewhere on Trek FM co-hosting Earl Grey. That's our dedicated Next Generation podcast with Amy Nelson and Richard Marquez. We have a great time talking about the Next Generation every week. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm at TrekFan4747, where I tweet about nothing but Star Trek. I do tweet about Discovery quite a bit, and also my Season 4 rewatch of the Next Generation. And you can also find me hanging around the Babel Conference on Facebook.
Great. And Brandi, where can people find you? Because we've already teased about Warp 5, but give it to us again.
Yes, well, I'm on the Warp 5 podcast here on Trek FM with Brandon Shamatella and Patrick Devlin, and we have a great time talking about Enterprise. And there will be an upcoming episode that we're recording tonight all about everybody's favorite beagle, Porthos.
Hey!
So I'm super excited about that because it was my idea and I love that dog so much.
Discovery's missing a dog, aren't they?
They need a dog or something. They think that a Tribble will make up for it, but it's just, you need something ambulatory. In any case, you can also find me on Twitter as Brandywine12. That's Brandi with an I and the number 12. And you'll find me lurking in the Babel Conference. Once Discovery is over, we won't be running live from the Edge until new Discovery is coming to us, but you can still hear me occasionally on the main show of the Edge from time to time. And also I do a podcast with my lovely husband Dave that I obviously can't stop talking about called the Dark Corner Podcast, which you can find on strangeanddeadly.com or anywhere you get podcasts. And we look at society and pop culture and life in general through a darker lens. So, Bruce, when you're not pumping your arms on a treadmill, where can people find you?
You can find me watching Discovery. That's what I'm doing when I'm not pumping my arms on a treadmill. But you can find me on Twitter at Admiral_Rex. And you can find me here on Trek FM doing Literary Treks with Dan Gunther, where we talk about the Star Trek books and comics, including Star Trek Discovery. Drastic Measures will be coming up, and we'll have Dayton Ward, the author of that novel, on the show talking about that. So that's coming up in the next few weeks. So you have plenty of time to read before we do that episode. And also, I'm going to be on the 602 Club soon with Matt Rushing talking about Legends of Luke Skywalker, that book. And speaking of Star Wars, during the Super Bowl, we got a teaser of Solo, a Star Wars story, and we got the trailer this morning. And we talked about that on the Star Wars Report, which is another podcast I'm on. So check out the Star Wars Report to get our initial reaction. We had a whole bunch of people on talking about the Han Solo movie trailer. So check that out. And of course, I'm always in the Babel conference. Yes, got to do that. Always. And I think that's it. That's all we've got. We've got one more episode next week. That's it.
I don't want to talk about it right now. I'm having a hard time dealing with this. So I'm just going to not deal with it until I have to.
Yes. It's okay. We'll bring plenty of tissues.
Yeah, I'll have an entire box beside me because heaven only knows what's going to happen in this episode. I'm just going to probably cry through the entire thing is my guess.
Oh, and Patrick's going to co-host with us next week, and he was on our first one.
Yes, he was. And he's
Full
also
circle.
with me on Warp 5. And I love Patrick. He's great. So,
well, Justin, thank you so much for being with us. We love having you. And I also love having you in Literary Treks, too. It's always great.
No, pleasure to be here, as always. I love talking about Discovery, and I know it'll be a while until season 2, but I think I'll appear there as well once you guys start that back up.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So what do we say? Live long and prosper, right?
Live long and prosper, and keep calm and disco on. Bye.
Bye.